Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Grunge Bible Podcast. This week we have episode number 15. My name is Chris Salona. My co-host Ethan Shalloway is MIA this week. He is actually out in Eugene, Oregon, competing at the United States Track and Field Olympic Trials in the javelin throw. So it's a little difficult to simultaneously do a podcast and compete with the best individuals in the country at your given athletic discipline. So we're going it alone this week. Still have some good content to come your way. So I hope everybody is doing fantastically well out there. I'm hanging in there, not as tired as I typically am, even though I was not well rested at all this weekend, but the show goes on, as they say. So this week we've got a good episode. First week of summer, June 21st, longest day of the year. Summer is officially here despite the universe's best efforts to keep it from happening once again. Let's hope that this summer is a little bit better than last summer, 2020. All gas, no brakes in 2021 in summer. So I'm really excited for it. Concerts are coming back, as we spoke about last week. Got a lot of good music. And for me, one of the best places to enjoy music is in the summertime, and one of the best locations during the summertime to enjoy music is behind the wheel of a car or in a car. I love doing road trips. I've been known to road trip pretty frequently, heading over to Ethan because we don't live in the same area. So usually every summer we try to sneak a road trip in, and I'm usually the traveler. Hop in the car and get some tunes ready, and that's always a big moment there to curate your road trip playlist. So this week I'm going to count down my top 10 grunge driving songs. Now this list is subject to change as soon as the episode ends. It was probably different in my head this morning as opposed to 10 minutes ago when I finished writing down the final curation of it. You're probably going to disagree with it. You're going to have some different opinions, and I would love to hear them. They are correct for you, just as these are correct for me. But honestly, if we're talking about consumption of music, there's really nothing better, than getting in the car, turning that volume all the way up and just blasting your favorite tunes with the windows down in the summertime. I think that's one of the biggest tests of a song or of an album, is if it sounds good in the car. That's really where music, in my opinion, can cut its teeth. It's either that or late at night when you need it to hit you hard in the feels. But really excited to get into this list. And as always, this episode of the Grunge Bible Podcast is brought to you by our Grunge Bible 5 top level Patreon supporters: Alexis Shannon, Sonny Mashburn, Victor Schaefer, Shannon Gorgone, and Release. So to you 5, thank you for sustaining us as well. You have been with us for a long time now. It's weird to think that this is the 15th week of the podcast. Things are rolling along, and we're really, really appreciative for your support and for everybody's support who's listening, commenting, sharing, everything like that. I know I speak for Ethan as well when I say that it's been very enjoyable so far, and we hope that we're getting a little better at it each week, and we're certainly enjoying it more each week, and we hope you are too. It's a great outlet just to share in the music that we enjoy so much. But without further ado, I believe it is time to get into my list. So we're going to go from 10 all the way down to 1 to the definitive undisputed champion of grunge driving songs. But checking in at the 10 slot for me is one of my favorite songs off of this EP, and it is No Excuses by Alice in Chains. And the reason why this one makes the list, that Jar of Flies record did such a good job, merging acoustic, electric, and all of the instruments, the bass guitar and the drums. And for this one, that little drum beat that Sean Kinney does at the beginning, just really kind of gets you going. And I love that acoustic tune, Half Step Down, Jerry Cantrell bringing it to you, and the little phrases of electric guitar that he brings in, after the choruses just really kick it for me. And I think the one commonality for all of these songs on this list for me are, if the tempo's up there, if it's really easy to sing and to sing poorly in the car, because let's face it, that's the best part about being in the car listening to music, is to have a car concert. And this one certainly fits the bill for that. I think the lyrics are really, really great. It's got one of my favorite lyrics, probably out of the entire genre. and it's Jerry Cantrell writing this song, and the lyric goes, "You, my friend, I will defend, and if we change, well, I love you anyway." And I believe he's on record as really kind of talking about the fact that part was written as a kind of ode to Lane Staley and an ode to their friendship, in the sense that, you know, life's changing and, you know, everything's going on, but at the end of the day, you know, those people that are special to you, they were special to you at one point in your life, so they're always going to have that space, you know, in your hearts and in your minds. And, you know, even if you change, I've still got your back. And I think that can be applied to a lot of our lives with our friends. And, you know, as we grow older, you know, Ethan and I, we're in our mid-20s. So, you know, we're moving to different places where we might not be in the same location as people. And we're changing, you know, we change every day. We all do. But at the end of the day, your friends are still your friends. But it's a great driving song. Checking in at my number 10 position on top 10 grunge driving songs. So moving up one slot to number 9, Nirvana makes an appearance. I realize we haven't spoken a whole lot about Nirvana on this podcast, so we're going to have to change that. I know I'm on record personally, and I can't speak for Ethan here because he does feel differently than me, but I've never been a big Nirvana fan. I don't know why. I think Kurt Cobain's awesome. Dave Grohl is one of the greatest people on the face of the planet, and Chris Novoselic is just incredible with his energy. But for some reason, Nirvana just doesn't do it for me in the way that the other bands do. But nevertheless, my number 9 song on this list is "On a Plane" by Nirvana. That is off of the Nevermind record, and I just love the energy that it brings. You know, Kurt, Dave, and Chris, like, when they got together, especially live, I mean, they just brought this unmitigated energy and chaos, particularly, you know, in 1990, 91, and then, you know, maybe the early parts of 92, you know, once prior to, you know, Kurt really getting weary of, you know, playing huge live shows. I mean, I just picture hearing this song, you know, in a club in 1990 or 1991, and, you know, it's just got that up tempo, and I think, you know, the hook in this one, the chorus, is just, it's beautifully written. I mean, it's such a killer hook in this song, and certainly it sounds great behind the wheel of the car. It's really, really easy one to sing along with, so that one definitely has a spot on my list. Moving up to number 8, one of the all-time radio play kings of the genre. Everybody knows it. Not everybody might love it anymore, but it's Plush by the Stone Temple Pilots. And I was going back and forth on whether to include Plush or Interstate Love Song, you know, because Interstate Love Songs, you know, really got a lot of those great elements too, with the up tempo and, you know, the great chorus and everything. But Plush, I don't know. It's just, when the drums come in and that iconic guitar riff at the beginning, and Eric Kretz on the drums there, I just think there's a reason why this is their most popular song. There's a reason why it sounds fantastic in most any setting. Love this one. This one usually makes its way into most, if not all, of my summertime playlists and a lot of my road tripping playlists. So it secures its place on number 8 for this list. So moving up to number 7, we're going to deviate from the big four and the more popular bands. I fucking love this band. The Meat Puppets, the Brothers Meat, are going to make an appearance on this list in the number 7 position. And this is the song Backwater by the Meat Puppets. I don't really know what to say other than the fact that if you've listened to this song, you know exactly what I'm talking about right here. I just love the guitar in it. It's super, super catchy. And then, you know, the little vocal harmonies they do is just really, really, really fantastic. I think I heard this one for the first time on the Sirius XM station, the Lithium station. I was with one of my friends in the car, so I think it's kind of tied towards that memory. But this is a great song. If you're behind the wheel, you can't play it, you know, at not maximum volume. Backwater. Something I loved about the Meat Puppets is their live performances. It seems like a lot of times they were not, their guitars were not tuned. They weren't in the correct key, but it doesn't matter. And I think, you know, there certainly is a place for precision in music, but I think when you're playing live, I would prefer to see a band with a lot of energy, you know, and their A string might be tuned a little off, or, you know, they might not be, the tightest band that night. But I mean, the energy is just fantastic. And these guys brought it and they still bring it. They've been running the trail for a long, long time. And this is, unequivocally my favorite Meat Puppets song. It's a great song, super up-tempo, so kind of keeping in that vein of the previous entries on this list. Moving up to number 6, another band that's outside of the popular realm of what we would consider to be the preeminent grunge rock groups or musicians, but we've got an entry from L7, and we've been receiving some requests to do an episode on the female-led or female-prevalent grunge bands, and L7 is probably one of the first bands that I think of. They were just fantastic. They brought so much energy, but this song checking in on this list in the number 6 spot is Shit List, and the reason why, if you haven't listened to this song, you really need to go and listen to it, just because the lyrics are great. They go, when I get mad and when I get pissed, I grab a pen and I write down a list of all you assholes who won't be missed. You've made my shit list. And that's just fantastic. I mean, we all get to the point where, we're getting more than we deserve from people, or we're getting things we don't deserve. And honestly, sometimes you just got to write down a shit list. And that's what they were talking about here. And this is just another one. It's nice and up tempo, and there's something about driving, with that up tempo, and these lyrics just in my mind fit super, super well. It's just a nice fuck you to everybody that's not riding along with you, who's not, seeing eye to eye with you. It doesn't matter, you're heading your own way. You're writing down their names, and you don't need them in your life anymore. So L7 bringing the wisdom back in the early 1990s. We're going to move into our top 5 now. It was really hard for me to rank these songs in any sort of order, because I think this top 5 could be arranged in any which way, and it would be amazing and fantastic and important. But my number 5 grunge driving song is Dying Days by the Screaming Trees. So I almost had Nearly Lost You as my Screaming Trees entry, and it probably would have been a top 5 song as well. But Dying Days off of the Dust album, which was the last full album that the Trees recorded together. I believe it came out in 1996, and it did not do nearly as commercially well as Sweet Oblivion did. But Dying Days is probably... it might have the best hook and the best chorus out of any song on this list. Mark Lanegan, if you've been listening to the show, or if you've been following the page for any number of months or years, you know that I love Mark Lanegan, and he came out with a memoir last year called Sing Backwards and Weep, which really, really discussed his life and his struggles and his time in the Trees, his time growing up, and then his time shortly thereafter the Trees. And if you've read that, or if you know his story, it's remarkable that he was alive at this point, that he's still alive now, and that he was in any sort of condition to write music and to perform music and to record music back, I believe this was 1996 or around there. And, the fact that music like this was able to come out of a situation like that is it doesn't make sense to me. I'm really happy that Mark is still here and he's living healthily now, but Dying Days is one of those songs. It's just got a great hook. Out of all of the tension that came about with the Screaming Trees between Mark Lanegan and the Connor brothers, they were still able to write some really, really good music. And it's always interesting to me with these bands how there can be so much internal conflict, and they can be on the brink of breakup and collapse, and they can still come together and create. And I think that's something that I always forget about with bands, is that there is a business aspect to it. And, just as, in our lives, we have our coworkers, and, you may not love all of your coworkers, or you might not see eye to eye with them on a lot of things, but at the end of the day, you do have to have a professional relationship. And I think this record in particular, it took them a long time to record it. They had wanted to do a follow-up to Sweet Oblivion, in the year afterwards, but Mark was just having too many issues with his own struggles, so hence the 3.5 or 4 year gap between Sweet Oblivion and Dust. But Dying Days, I think, is the crown jewel of that last Trees album. It's a great driving song. really, really up tempo. It's once again, I'm a sucker for any song that, you know, leads in with a little acoustic before bringing in the electric guitar. And this is another one that brings you in with an acoustic guitar, and then they pick up those electric guitars, throw on those amps, and just let it rip. This is a really, really solid one. Number 4 on this list for me is Hunger Strike by Temple of the Dog. This one, Temple of the Dog, Hunger Strike, that's got to be on virtually every single top 10 list I could ever think of. I think it would probably be number 1 on the grunge songs to sing while intoxicated list. And I know I've mentioned this on the show before, but there's nothing better than if you have a friend who's with you, you guys are enjoying some beers or whatever your liquor or alcohol of choice is, and Hunger Strike comes on, one of you grabs Ed's parts, one of you grabs Chris's part, and you just let it rip. And when you're in the car with friends, you do that too. If you're alone, you try to sing both parts at the same time, even though that's impossible. It's impossible to sound as good as they do, but this one is just so iconic. And obviously the chorus, I mean, everybody knows this song, and if you don't know it, you know it after the first round through the chorus. Just a great song. You know, the Temple of the Dog record is so awesome to me. You think about it, they just came together, you know, a one-off tribute for Andrew Wood, and these songs came about, and it was really at that point, that inflection point where, you know, Pearl Jam was just beginning. You know, Eddie Vedder hadn't recorded anything in Seattle before. You know, he had just really met the guys in Pearl Jam. Mike McCready was just making his entrance back into the music scene. You had Matt Cameron in the mix, obviously, and you know, Chris Cornell, who had been making a name for themselves in Soundgarden. But, you know, this album was recorded, you know, before any of these bands really broke through. I mean, I think it came out before 10 came out, before Bad Motorfinger came out. They all came out in 1991, but the Temple of the Dog album predated it by about 4 or 5 months. So really funny about this one, when it came out, it didn't really, you know, do a whole lot commercially or in the charts. And then when 10 broke in August of 1991 and Bad Motorfinger, you know, followed that up as well, this one had a little bit of a rebirth, obviously. And Hunger Strike remains as the most enduring bit of Temple of the Dog's legacy. And this one, you know, we're talking 30 years after this thing came out, and you still hear it all the time, and people still enjoy it. And I think that's a testament, you know, to the power of the song. And, you know, their cup's already overfilled. We're going to move on up to number 3 here. This is a little bit of a dark horse pick. I don't know that this would be on anybody else's list, but I've had some personal experiences with this song, driving, but also running. And Mother Love Bone is finally going to make an appearance on this podcast. We've had a lot of people, once again, really request that we do something with Mother Love Bone, and I think we're going to have to, because, you know, Andrew Wood, Mother Love Bone, you know, the guys from Pearl Jam who were in it, really, really special band that you can't help but think, if Andrew Wood hadn't passed away in 1990, you know, that this would have been the band, or this would have been one of the bands to really break through. But my entry, the number 3 spot on this top 10 driving song list, is from Mother Love Bone, and it is Come Bite the Apple. And I just love this song. Once again, all of the commonalities with this song is you know, just the tempo to it, the beat, and this song is just, they're just playing so tight and so cohesively. And Andrew Wood was a great songwriter, and he had a great voice, and his voice fit so well with what Mother Love Bone were doing musically. And it's kind of, this is why Mother Love Bone is a great example of why I don't give a whole lot of credence to grunge as a genre in and of itself, more so just a geographic region. Because if you take this song, for example, this really doesn't have a ton of elements of what we would now consider to be grunge. I mean, it was kind of like just a conglomerate, you know, of arena rock, definitely a lot of hair metal influence, you know, and maybe a little bit of punk. But I mean, Mother Love Bone was so distinct, you know, for really not even having, you know, released that many, you know, studio recordings, you know, during their lifetime. They were so quickly able to carve out such a unique voice and such a distinct sound. And I think that's one of the reasons why, people look back, and even people at the time, they really thought that Mother Love Bone was going to be one of those bands to break through. And when Apple came out in 1990, I think Andrew Wood passed away only a few days or a week before Apple came out. And, that's one of the bands and one of the storylines that you can't help but wonder what would have happened. But Come Bite the Apple is probably my favorite Mother Love Bone song, aside from Chloe Dancer Crown of Thorns. But, if you're looking for something up-tempo that just sounds good when you're moving, it's got to be Come Bite the Apple. Really, really, really great tune. So this next tune on my list, we're all the way up to number 2. And this one, by virtue of what the song is talking about, almost has to be shooed into the top 3 of anybody's driving song list when it comes to grunge songs, and that would be Rearview Mirror by Pearl Jam. And this song is just a fucking banger. This one is just so intense, so much energy, so much intensity, and I think there's an Eddie Vedder quote when it comes to the lyrics is, they were writing the music to it, and, he was sitting in the studio recording the Versus album with the band, and, he heard the song, he heard the music, and there's a quote where he says he just kind of thought about all of the situations and all of the times where he wanted to leave. And I think that's something that's super, super relatable, because inevitably we all end up in situations that we don't want to be in, and it can be hard to leave, it can be hard to escape something, but this one just really kind of became like an anthem and such a emphatic taking back of what you want to be yours. And I just think of the lyric in this song, I gather speed from you fucking with me. And then obviously once you get to the end, saw things so much clearer once you were in my rearview mirror. And this song is just, it's dynamite behind the wheel. And if you've ever if you've ever been in a situation where you've needed to terminate a relationship with somebody, whoever it is, this is one that you have to put on if you need that extra kick in the pants to follow through with it and to free yourself. And when you get to the bridge of this song, when things kind of slow down, and then Ed hops in, saw things clearer once you were in my rearview mirror. And then Dave Abbruzzese is just pouring his heart and soul out into this recording. And if I remember correctly, it took them many takes to get this one right. And they were getting on Dave because he apparently was not drumming with enough intensity. And this last take that they got it at, if you listen to the end of the song, I'm not sure if you would know this, but if you listen to the end of the song, after he finishes, after the song ends, you can hear him take his drumsticks and throw them against the wall, and you can hear them hit the wall and fall down to the floor and kind of rattle around on the floor for a little bit. And just the intensity of that moment in the studio, the intensity of the lyrics, the intensity of the songwriting, they all just complement one another so well. And this is, almost as high octane as Pearl Jam gets. And, that era of, 1991, 92, 93, when Ed was still just so angry and had so much emotion pent up in him over the years and everything that had gone on in his life and his professional life, it was still coming to a head when they went in to record Versus. And that album, there was so much pressure on Pearl Jam to record a great follow-up to 10. I mean, they went from this band who they were, a relatively obscure band. People knew of, Jeff Ament and Stone Gossard, from their work around Seattle in the 80s and then, 1990 or so. But, they recorded 10 under relative anonymity, and, they broke through to become one of the bigger bands in the world in 1992. And then when they hopped back in the studio in 93, all of the pressure accumulated, and I can't help but feel like this song was, part of finding an outlet for all of that pressure. And, we were gifted with such a great album in Versus and such a great song in Rearview Mirror. So before I pull back the curtain on my number 1 grunge driving song, I've got some honorable mentions that I need to include here, and they just as well could have found their way into the 8th or 9th or 10th position, or maybe even higher. And I'm sure if you're listening out there, you've got some that are really, really near to you, some of them that I may have mentioned and some of them that I may not have mentioned. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this list and see where you think I missed the mark and see where where you would rank these songs. But some honorable mentions here for me. I've got Corduroy by Pearl Jam, MFC by Pearl Jam. I think that has to be on it because it's about driving in a mini fast car. That's a contractual obligation that this one makes a list about driving. Malibu by Hole definitely makes my list. Additionally, I have No Rain by Blind Melon. That one I wanted to put on my list really badly, but I don't really consider Blind Melon to be a grunge band. On second thought, I don't really consider any of these bands to be a grunge band, because if I were making a grunge list, it would just have to all be Mudhoney songs, in which case You Gotta Keep Out of My Face would probably be number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5. But No Rain by Blind Melon, that's a really great song. That's one of those songs that the sound of it and the lyrics of it really don't sync up. And it took me a long time to realize that it's kind of a sad song. If you listen to the lyrics, but it's so weird, that juxtaposition that's going on there. And those are some of my favorite songs throughout music, where, the sound of the music and the lyrics are really, really contradictory. Something like Today by the Smashing Pumpkins comes to mind, where if you listen to the guitar and all of the music parts, it really doesn't sound like the downer of a song that it is, where Billy was just really, really, really fed up with everything, and he was struggling with a lot of things. And I think a lot of times songwriters might employ that paradox a little bit, because I think it can, when you get the lyrics, when you actually listen to them, it kind of makes it a little bit more effective. But No Rain, despite its somber subject matter at points, definitely makes my list. It's super upbeat, the music, and I'm a big lyrics guy, but I think at points you definitely have to listen to the music for the music. You can kind of give yourself a pass on the lyrics even if you don't like them, or if you just choose not to listen to them with intent. Other ones that are on my honorable mention list, I spoke about it earlier, but Interstate Love Song by the Stone Temple Pilots. Another song, it's kind of about moving around and everything, but another one just really, really great. Love that slide guitar at the beginning. And I think that's one of the underrated riffs of the early 1990s, is that, that intro riff with the, the bend of the string, and, really getting into that song there. Such a great band that we need to talk about more on the show. Ethan and I do have a Stone Temple Pilots episode coming up shortly. So if you're a fan of the band, Fear Not is on its way. My final honorable mention would be My Wave by Soundgarden. I tried really hard to think of a Soundgarden song that I really, truly enjoyed to put onto a driving list. The problem is when I listen to Soundgarden, I want to, run through a brick wall. I don't want to cruise on the highway. So I almost put Outshined on here, but I think Soundgarden is almost a little too intense to be listening to while you're driving, unless you're really trying to move away from some shit, or you really have some shit going on. But My Wave is, another one of those really, really up-tempo songs. I just posted it earlier today on the Instagram page, actually, and I just love the lyricism in there. Don't come over here, piss on my gate, save it, just keep it off my wave. And I think, now that I think of it, a lot of these songs on this list really inhabit that frame of mind of like, just fuck you, I'm doing my own thing, you can't stop it, you can't interfere with it, and I'm not going to change because of you, just keep it off of my wave. Off of the Super Unknown album, which for me is second place to Bad Motorfinger, because I think it's impossible to beat the just pure awesomeness of Bad Motorfinger. So those are all of my honorable mentions, and we have discussed positions 10 through 2. So without further ado, we are going to announce my all-time favorite grunge driving song, and this is the undisputed champion. It's this song, All Day Every Day. This song can fit pretty much any situation. I believe it is the only this is the only band that has 2 songs on my list. So the number 1 spot on this list would be Man in the Box by Alice in Chains. And if you think about this song, it's just got energy, I don't know, if this song does not fire you up, your pulse needs to be checked. Your vital signs need to be checked out. because I don't think you're alive. But Man in the Box is just, that guitar coming in, it just makes you want to stomp around. It just makes you want to move. And it's such a great song. The windows are rolled down. I've certainly got some experiences, anecdotally at least, back in high school. This was always one of the songs that you get the boys together on a Friday or a Saturday, when school's out for the weekend, and you blast Man in the Box, with the windows rolled down. It didn't matter that, you were in your buddy's like 2004 Hyundai Sonata that could only go like 75 miles an hour if you tried, which you didn't try because otherwise it would start shaking and, you'd fear that the car would implode on you. But it didn't matter. This song can make you feel like you're driving a sports car, down the California coast or wherever. It's just got so much intensity, and, Lane Staley's vocals in this are just stupid good. This is, I think every musician, every singer has a song or two in their repertoire, in their discography, where they just basically just wanted to show off their vocal abilities. I think of The Day I Tried to Live by Soundgarden, for example, or Beyond the Wheel by Soundgarden is just like, I'm just going to show off here. And the chorus, feed my eyes, can you sew them shut, with Lane just pouring his heart and soul into this song, is absolutely amazing. And when they asked Lane Staley, what this song is about, he really didn't know how to answer that. I believe he said that it was about media censorship or something like that, ... I don't know. I was stoned, so it probably meant something different then. But, with a song like this, with how it sounds, I don't care what it's about. It could be about tiger skin underwear. It could be about blankets. I would not care. It's just so good. It's got so much energy. This one makes its way onto every single lifting playlist, every single running playlist, every single driving playlist that I've probably ever made, because it's that good. It'll just get you going. It'll get the good moods pumping, especially in the summertime. You roll those windows down, you got the sun beating on the hood of your car, and hopefully you're heading somewhere fun. All of these songs have a special place for me, and I will certainly be playing them very frequently as the summer moves on, because summer is finally here, and I'm quite excited about that, and I hope you are as well. So that'll do it for my list for the top 10 grunge driving songs. As I said, if you were to ask me tomorrow, I would probably have a little bit of a different list. There are some that are locked in here, like Rearview Mirror is not going anywhere. Man in the Box is not going anywhere. I don't think Backwater's going anywhere. The Brothers Meet are here to stay. They will not be making their departure anytime soon. So, as I said, I would love to hear your list or your top songs. It's excited. The world is starting to open up a little bit more, so we're spending more time outside. We're maybe traveling a little bit more, so these songs are getting a lot more airplay in the car, and I'm really looking forward to that. So that is my undisputed list, and I'm very thankful that you guys have decided to stick around and listen along with me here. If you're interested in supporting this show, you can head over to grungebible.com. As always, we've got some links there for you. Our Patreon page is linked there, which is the most direct way to support this podcast. Additionally, we have merchandise for sale. We have all of our streaming links. So whatever platform you're listening on, please subscribe. Please follow that feed. Leave a review if you would like. If you have other feeds that you don't use but you just have, we'd love it if you could subscribe on multiple fronts, and love getting the messages. Keep those emails coming and those DMs about the show if you have episode requests or if you have thoughts on the episodes that we've made so far. So one more segment, as always, the song of the week. As I said, and as you obviously know since you've been listening, Ethan's not here, but I can only assume that his song of the week would be "Here Come the Bastards" by Primus. I just have an inkling that one's been getting a lot of airplay for him as he prepares for this competition out in Eugene, Oregon at the Olympic trials. I'm excited next week to have maybe have a little bit of debrief about how the competition went and how it goes, and I know he really appreciates all of the messages that we've been getting and that he's been getting from you guys. So we're really appreciative of it. But yeah, you can pretty much lock in "Here Come the Bastards" for Ethan's Song of the Week submission. My Song of the Week submission is by a band from Australia, and this band is called Camp Cope, and my Song of the Week is "Stove Lighter" by Camp Cope, and it was off of their 2016 debut eponymous album. And probably at this point right now, Camp Cope is my favorite band. They've only released 2 studio albums, and I think their most recent one was probably 3 years ago. So I'm really hopeful that at some point in the future we get more from them. But they're a 3-piece band, 3 ladies from Australia. We've got Georgia Mack, lead vocals and 6-string guitar. Then we have Kelly Dawn Helmrich on the bass guitar, and then we have Sarah Thompson on the drums. And I think something that draws me to this band is Kelly's bass playing, for some reason, is just so distinct, and I love the way that she just moves up and down the neck of the bass. And if you listen to the song "Stove Lighter," you will really, really get a good feeling for that. And I've always been impressed, and I always have a lot of respect for 3-piece bands, just for the sense that you either have to be incredibly, incredibly talented, or you have to be very creative. And in this case, they're both. And in a lot of cases, they're both, because, you are missing that 4th or even 5th member sometimes. And, even going back to Jimi Hendrix and the Band of Gypsies, when, Jimi Hendrix is playing both lead and rhythm guitar. And even with Nirvana, for example, with Kurt Cobain filling that role for both. I just think with, 3-piece bands, you have so much space to fill with only 3 people. And I just think the bass guitar and the drums just have to be that much more cohesive and on top of one another to form that nice battery, to allow whoever's playing guitar and whoever's singing to inhabit the rest of that space. And Camp Cope does such a fantastic job. And I really appreciate a lot of the things that they sing about. They write about a lot of really important social issues. And Georgia Mack is just a really, really talented songwriter, and she's got a great voice, both in the literal sense and in the figurative sense. So that is my Song of the Week, "Stove Lighter" by Camp Cope. You should definitely check that out, and you should stay tuned for next week, episode 16. Ethan will be back in the studio, or in the virtual studio at least, and we will be excited to come to you next week with another great topic. In the meantime, thank you so much for listening. We're really appreciative, as I said, and we will catch you later on down the trail. So take care and rock and roll.